to Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for joining. Of course, I'm not alone, as always. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. It's always a delight to be here. My name is Stella Iyachi.
Yes, today the show is fully packed. As always, we'll be looking at quite a number of issues. But first, let's start with the headlines. God won't make you laborers. Tinubu towns Peter Obi's supporters.
Police arrest 3 armed robbery suspects in Nasarawa.
Ahmed Musa to politicians. How do you feel visiting your children abroad while ASU is on strike?
Now the news in details. The Nasarawa State Police Command has said that they have arrested 3 armed robbery suspects who have been terrorizing and causing sleepless nights to the residents of the Karu local government area of the state. The police public relations officer DSP Rahman Nansel told Daily Trust in Lafayette, the Nasarawa State capital, on Tuesday that the police operatives attached to the new Karu area command through actionable intelligence apprehended 3 of the suspects. Those arrested, according to the PPRO, are 33-year-old Musa Mohammed, 32-year-old Adam Lawal, and 32-year-old Mark Friday, respectively.
In what could be a veiled reference to Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, and his supporters, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu lashed out at the opposition party on Tuesday. Obi's supporters, known as Obedience, comprise young persons who have been campaigning vigorously, particularly on social media. Speaking at the rally, Tinubu, who is presidential candidate of the APC, described opposition parties as mushroom parties. He told Oshun electorate to do what was done in Ekiti, where the APC's Abiodun Oyebanji won last month's election.
Now, Super Eagles star Ahmed Musa has tackled Nigerian politicians over the lingering strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Students of many government-owned universities have been away from the classrooms since February, when ASU commenced strike. All efforts to make the lecturers return to the classroom have not yielded meaningful results. Posting on his official Instagram account on Tuesday, Musa said it was a shame that political office holders flaunt the pictures of their children who school abroad while those in Nigeria are at home.
Right, now let's take a look at some packages now. The Independent National Electoral Commission on Tuesday said it has completed 12 out of 14 activities of the election timetable. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu disclosed this in Oshogbo, the state capital, at a stakeholders meeting attended by the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeye Enitan Ogunwusi, as well as governorship candidates and representatives of the political parties in the state. Hamid Oyegbade has the details of this.
The Osun State governorship election will hold on Saturday, July 16th. It is the last major off-cycle election before the 2023 general election, which is just 227 days away. Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, says necessary arrangements have been put in place to ensure a successful poll in the state this weekend. The INEC chairman said the only 2 outstanding activities are the last day of campaign by political parties, which ends at midnight on Thursday, 14th of July 2022, and the election day activities on Saturday, 16th July 2022. While assuring residents that the election will be free and fair, he called on the people of the state to play their part to make the entire process successful.
And specifically in sections 121, 126, and 127, there are specific penalties dealing with bribery, conspiracy, dealing with electoral offences of election day, and dealing with undue influence. And each of these sections, 121, 126, 127, prescribe punishment ranging from fines to terms of imprisonment or both.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, said necessary arrangements have been put in place to ensure adequate security in the state throughout the election period.
I also wish to assure that the personnel of the Nigeria Police Force and indeed all other security agencies that have been mobilized to complement the police shall remain impartial, calm, and professional in the exercise of our statutory duties as provided for in the Electoral Act as amended and other enabling laws.
The Onyomife, Oba Adeyeye Enito Ogunwusi, warned politicians and their supporters against electoral violence to ensure a peaceful exercise.
You are not greater than a show. You are not greater than the state. The state is greater than you. Anything that is greater than you, there is a limit that you can do. Please, we are praying and begging and appealing to all of you. Do not incite the youth of our very peaceful state. Do not use every means of desperation that you want to get there by all means. Let us leave everything to God Almighty. People know what is right. They have a sense of right and wrong in terms of what they want to do, in terms of who they want to support. Let us leave everything to the people. Let us leave everything to the electorate, and let us leave everything to God Almighty.
Yeah, thank you for that report. It's a good thing. Now, all eyes are on Oshun to see whether INEC is going to consolidate on, everything that it did in Ekiti the last time.
Exactly, except for, some other observations that have been raised in the Ekiti election,
The vote
which
buying.
is the issue of voter inducement, yes. That one was very glaring in Ekiti State governorship election. And we hope civil society organizations and all well-meaning Nigerians that there will be no repeat, of that, because it's very important that we have a free, fair, and credible election. And if you look at, that Oshun election, it's like a repeat of 2018 election between mainly the two the two major
the PDP and the APC.
The PDP and the APC.
And the same candidates.
The same candidates and Adeboyega Oyetola. So hopefully we will see a violence-free election, and we'll also see, going by the assurances given by the Inspector General of Police, I hope that the security personnel will not look the other way, because
like
that has always been the experience.
And that was the allegation in Ekiti, that they actually looked the other way.
Exactly. Sometimes,
that was going on.
A lot of, illegalities will be going on, electoral offenses are going on, but the police just look the other way. So sometimes we see them on videos. So it's very important that they up their game and do the needful. And they themselves, we hope that they will not be compromised.
Yeah, and you remember the last time we spoke to Mr. Festus Okoye on this show, he assured that the INEC had put in place modalities to ensure that vote buying didn't take place. So let's hope that happens.
To the electorate as well, the voters, it's very important that they take this seriously.
Yes, and the electorate must understand that this 5,000, 10,000 they collect is not enough. I mean, it's 4 years to mortgage your future just because of 5,000. It's not worth it. I also like the fact that the Oba has spoken to the politicians he said they should understand that nobody is above the state. Nobody is bigger than the state, just to ensure violence free.
True.
Yeah. So on now to another package. Kaduna Kaduna-based newspaper publisher Tukur Mamu says no money was paid through him as ransom to secure the release of the 7 victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack. The Kaduna-based publisher, who has been at the forefront of negotiations with the terrorists to secure the release of the victims, said 11 were earlier released through his efforts and that of security agencies. Now let's take the report.
After the attack of the AK-9 Kaduna-Abuja train, many people were abducted by the terrorists, while some killed. The Kaduna-based publisher Tukur Mamu, who has been in the forefront of the negotiation with the terrorists to secure the release of these victims, 11 were earlier released through his effort and the security agencies. Though Mamu announced his withdrawal from the negotiation, but he facilitated the release of the recent 7 victims. He says the media report that 700 million was paid as ransom to release the victims was unfounded.
The claim that the sum of 800 million naira was paid, I think it is unfounded as far as I'm concerned. I gave my own car that went to the forest I was there, even though I didn't enter that place, and the people that were rescued, they can bear testimony if there is money that was given or not.
When asked about the fate of the remaining victims who are still in the custody of the terrorists, he says nobody can determine when they will be released.
What I'm encouraging the government is that I have succeeded in opening a door that hitherto is not there. So they should explore this means as a responsible government and ensure the release of these innocent victims as soon as possible. It is something that I repeated that can be done within 1, 2, 3 days. It is something that can be done. That is why I even told them that if you people cannot do it, give me the mandate, give me the go-ahead, give me the support. I will take responsibility if I did not succeed. Give me whatever it takes. I can guarantee that all of them will be released. But in a situation whereby, honestly, the same lackluster attitude will continue, I can tell you that the fate, nobody can determine their fate or when they will be released. Not anytime soon, honestly.
While attributing his withdrawal from the negotiations to threat from some quarters, said that the 7 victims recently rescued from the hands of the terrorists confirmed that members of the terrorist group escaped after the Kuje prison attack arrived the forest before their release.
Some of them threatening you because to some extent what we are achieving is exposing the ineptitude of some of them. What we are achieving is exposing the incapacity of some of them. I'm the first person that alerted the nation after this jailbreak that the same people that attacked the train are the same people that went to Kuje and freed their people. They are the same people. And this has been confirmed by the 7 victims that we succeeded in rescuing. They said even before they left that place, virtually all of them that were released in Kuje are there in the bush. They have confirmed.
With the withdrawal of Mahmoud from the negotiation with terrorists, relatives of the abductees are now left searching options.
Well, quite intriguing.
Quite revealing as well.
Yes, the report there by our Kaduna State correspondent. Tukur Mamu has been the intermediary between government and the kidnappers, and this seemed to give some kind of validity to the speculation. There's a speculation that the jailbreak is kind of a prison, it's kind of a swap. It's more like an exchange.
Yeah, and before now, we heard that one of their demands was that some of their people needed to be released. Even though at that time, what we heard was that their children that were held in prison somewhere in Borno State. That was what we heard.
Yes.
But
So could it now be that maybe the government decided to look the other way while the jailbreak takes place, so that these other abductees will be released? Could it be? And
what I do not understand is the fact that there were reports that 700 million was paid, and then he's saying that nothing was paid. So nobody really knows exactly what's going on.
So quite a lot really, really going on that we cannot really explain. But what's important is that
free these people
have been released. Part of the abductees have been released. We hope that the rest of them will be released as well. All right. Now let's move on to the next story. We have this one says, as Nigerians' population hits 216 million by November this year, experts have warned that the current population growth rate has consequences if not speedily addressed. A cross-section of respondents in Abuja expressed concerns over the rate of the population growth. Musa Luka reports.
Population is one of the human factors to be celebrated in the society. Any society that fails to grow in population is at risk of extinction. This gave rise to nations to track down their population growth to harness their social realities. But in most cases, with high population, there is expectation of great human capital, higher economic growth, and production capacity, among others. In Nigeria, census was conducted in 2006, marking Nigeria's population to 143 million, From 2006 to date, there is an increase with 73 million, marking Nigeria's population to be 216 million, making the country the sixth most populous country in the world. However, experts have warned that the current population growth has consequences if not speedily addressed. They said there is need for government and all stakeholders to take urgent measures to address the situation. Abuja residents expressed irritation with the government's inability to harness the population for national development.
It's supposed to be a blessing, but we failed to utilize the number. Because, for example, in China today, anything produced in China, if you own a company in China, first of all, you are sure of the markets in your country because the population is there. But in Nigeria here, where the government failed to educate the citizen, many of us are not employed. Many of us are not educated. So, in other words, the population has become a cause because if you check what is happening in the country today, is the insecurity, the hunger, this is linked to the high population that government failed to plan for.
Nigerian population, instead of being a blessing, is a curse to Nigeria because the government have failed to prepare for the incoming population and hereby making the population to be a curse to Nigeria.
The number of people is always a blessing. Singleness does not fight a war, whether it is poverty or military or banditry or terrorism. I think it's good, it's population to invest. But then we must inject adequate, sufficient guideline to maintain life, housing, where to live, and then the job to do, yes, and then what to eat. This is the something of life.
Musa Luka, Trust TV News.
Thank you, Musa Luka, for that report. I mean, Ayuba, I remember yesterday the lead story of the Daily Trust said that Nigeria was now the sixth most populated country in the world.
Yeah, and it's projected to cross over 330 million people by 2050. I think 337 million people by 2050. That's almost the same number with the United States by 2050.
Yeah.
And so it's quite alarming that we're seeing this kind of population growth. And sadly, the infrastructural growth or development of the country is not commensurable
at all
with that we are seeing. And then also the issue of productivity. You know, it's one thing to have a population, human capital as resource, but again, it's another to enhance that, to make it to work to your advantage. In the country right now, we don't seem to make it to be achieving that in terms of making our population work for us. Other countries have managed to do that.
Yeah, they have.
You know,
like, look at
people
China,
talk
for
about
instance,
China, over 1 billion people, you know, in one place, and they are able to do all the things that they are doing. And Africa is more like a I don't know what to call it now, a dumping ground or what for China.
For their products.
You know, and all that. And the same with India and other countries. Today, if you're talking about medicine, your first, point of call is India. A lot of people know India to be a place that are doing very well when it comes to medicine. So what is Nigeria known for?
And another thing is that if, when we talk about population in Nigeria, lots of people shy away from it. Even the government doesn't want to actually come out forcefully and talk about it. Now, if you do not want to take responsibility of that, of talking about it, on how to curb the growth and all of that, then you have to now think of how to make that population work for you. It has to go one way. If you're not going to talk about people, taking certain responsible measures to ensure that the population does not go beyond a certain point and all of that, then you must come up with what to do with this population that we have at this point.
And that will require investment.
Boosting production, manufacturing.
Very, very critical. Issue of power, it's very critical.
And these are areas that we have serious disruptions right now. We're not producing as much as we should.
Experts actually believe that as long as Nigeria's production does not increase, as long as we do not produce more and consume less, nothing is going to change as far as our economic indices in terms of, say, for instance, the dollar rate. You know, the production is what drives, you know, the exchange rates, is what determines your exchange rate. So if you are not producing enough, your currency is not going to have that value. Definitely is not going to have that value. And as long as that doesn't happen, we continue to be dependent on
And you
others.
know, before now, we were not even producing enough. Before now, we were import dependent. But now it's worse because insecurity has even made the situation worse. Even things that ordinarily we should be producing, now we cannot do that anymore. Farmers are scared to go to farm. So we are basically depending on imports. No economy can survive like that.
Truly, I agree. All right, well, that's that for some of the packages that we have today. We'll take a short breather, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at the newspapers, the dailies on Daybreak. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a look at the
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying. Now, beginning with the Daily Trust newspaper, we have the lead story saying, if you take a look at that, it's quite scary. How Nigeria borrowed 225 trillion naira in 20 years. That's the lead story on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And it has the writers that says, country earned 114 trillion naira same period. So if you subtract 114 trillion naira from 225 trillion naira, how much more will be left? That's the deficit that we are dealing with. Also, if you take a look at oil producing states raked in 9.67 trillion naira special revenue. Trend worrisome, according to experts. Now, the infograph there, if you take a look at it, gives you the breakdown of all the figures, talking about all the borrowings that was done over the years. Also, below that, you see Salah Ansaru preaches rebellion against government in Kaduna. That's on page 3. You also have above the lead story, inflation, epileptic power, cost of diesel erode gains of doing business. And then you also have Nigeria records 7 million new broadband subscribers in 7 months. Bandits attack Salah celebrants, kill 1, abduct 2 in Katsina. So you'd see these are some of the stories. And then at the very bottom there, how we buy goods with fake bank alerts. And that's according to suspects. 2023, Afenifere leader Adebanjo insists on Igbo presidency. You'd find that on page 6. And then the next one, man kills, sells body parts of 71-year-old woman in Ogun State. These are the stories on the front pages, on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper.
Now let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper has a lead story that says travelers grown as summer fare spike by 200%, 1 million naira per economic seat. It has a rider that says foreign airlines ditch lowest fares, adjust exchange rate to hedge devaluation shocks. Average travelers lament weak naira to dollar rates fares. Demand still resilient, top travel agencies say. And we have also a story here at the bottom of the paper, just below the pictorial, that says more chieftains resign in protest over APC's Muslim ticket. I was a victim of child trafficking, says Mo Farah. Then above here, right beneath the masthead, we have ADC presidential candidate Kachiko tax citizens to arise, rescue Nigeria over insecurity, economic woes. Then we have another story here. Obi's emergence will not stop Biafra agitation. This is coming from Masop. Also here, there's a story that says Anglican bishop says federal government not honest in tackling insecurity. These are the major stories on The Guardian.
All right, so let's take a look at other papers now, talking about the leadership newspaper. On the leadership, you have the lead story that says furor over APC running mate, Muslim ticket, recipe for more crisis, Northern Christians warn. You also find above the masthead, FG orders contractor to complete 194-kilometer Yola Mubi Road project. Voluntary asset declaration, FG goes after tax defaulters. You would also find other stories, low remittances, mass states enactment of pension scheme. Northern youths oppose sale of 5 power plants. The terrorists we pamper today will kill us tomorrow. Kachuku. And then you have 61,000 Boko Haram suspects detained in Northeast. That's according to Aregbeshola. So, Oshun poll, INEC issues 1.5 million PVCs as IGP deploys 21,000 officers. These are the stories on the front page of the leadership newspaper.
And on to the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper is also on the Oshun poll. It says, re-election, Oshun stands still for Governor Oyetola. It has a rider that says, Tinubu, Adamu, Lawan, Akonde, Omishore, Oshomole, governors rally support for performing leader. And then we also have another story here that says, ASU rejects Buhari's end to strike call. Union insists on UTAS, renegotiated 2009 agreement. Call off the strike, ADC candidate Kachiku urges lecturers. Then there's another story here that says, lull in demand drops oil price below $100 per barrel. Tax defaulters to face prosecution. This is coming from law enforcement agencies. And then we have another story here that says, battle for Alafin of Oyo's to hots up. Then it also has the 48 princes in the race. That is on page 27 of the paper. Now there's also the story here. Atiku's camp enlist orderly orders to woo Wike. Buhari in emotional reunion with old classmates. And then right at the bottom here, there's this story. Bodija market fire aided by stored petrol, says fire service. These are the major stories on the Nation newspaper.
All right, now let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. There you have the lead story on politics. It says, Oshun governorship poll, police declare war on vote buyers, deploy detectives. We have mobilized FIB operatives against vote buyers, force PRO says. Over 23,100 security officials deployed as Oshun prepares for governorship poll. Osimbajo, Aregbeshola absent, Tinubu, APC governors rally support for Oyetola. You see also above the masthead, the Muslim ticket as disastrous error, ex-SGF Lawal. You also have Nupeng threatens solidarity strike with ASU. Blame Nigerians for voting bad leaders. Goats don't vote. That's according to Senator. You also find below that, beneath the pictorial, other stories. Stop lobbying for postings. National Assembly warns workers. One-way drivers worsen Lagos-Ibadan road gridlock. Travelers stock. Christian ticket will have set Nigeria on fire. Cleric Aedogbon. And then you also will see the pictorial there showing you the rallies going on in Osun State for the APC flag bearer in the governorship race, Adeboyega Oyetola. Well, very interesting angles to this. But let's get more perspectives on this. Okay, let's take a look at
the national economy.
Yes.
The national economy, I mean, as the name says, it moved away totally from the political issues in the country. It has a lead story that says manufacturers intensify harnessing raw materials locally as forex crunch worsens. Prices of imported raw materials now unbearable. This is coming from MAN, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. And then below the pictorial, we have a story that says six stakeholders cooperation to bridge infrastructure gap. France-Nigeria Business Council, Buhari congratulates Rabiu on reappointment. We also have restructuring of discos. Group 6 protection of electricity consumers' rights. These are the major stories on the national economy.
All right. All right, so let's get perspectives on these stories on the front pages of our newspapers. We have in the studio Ben Sherman, the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, joining us to give perspectives. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak.
My pleasure as usual. Thank you very much.
Well, quite interesting. If you look at the Punch and the Nation newspaper, they lead with the story on the Osun governorship election coming up on the 16th of July. Just a few days away from now. And rallies are ongoing, campaigns, and all of that. But we are seeing that the Minister of Interior is absent in all that is going on. All the party stalwarts of the APC are there in Osun State to rally support for the incumbent governor, Daybreak. But he's away. This seems to, also give validity to the speculation that there's this disagreement between them.
Yes, you see, Aregbesola and the Jagaban, if you check, they are of recent not on the same page. And of course, we're talking of an election.
I saw a picture of both of them hugging each other shortly after Jagaban got the ticket of the APC.
Well, you see, photographs, they say don't lie. But what about the mind? What is inside the mind itself? It's different. Sometimes some things are done for public show, no, all is well, when indeed all is not well. Sometimes we hear this cliche that has come in Nigerian parlance, it is well. They say it is well when indeed it is not well. So politically, when, the big guys are not on the same page, it says a lot as per followership. And that is why, even if they hug in public, are their followers hugging in public? We are not seeing that. And
Aregbesola have been absent not only in the whole Osun governorship thing, but even with the jailbreak in Kuje, we've not seen him visited, or we've not seen him making any public statement on that of some sort. And the understanding was that, okay, perhaps he's busy with Osun election. But here we are at the rallies. He's still absent. So where is he?
And a follow-up to that before he takes on it. Like you said, not Kuje. I would have thought that his priority now would be Kuje prison. But yesterday during the rally was actually at the Kirikiri maximum prison in Lagos.
Well, maybe doing the opposite thing. But you see, at the point there was a time there was a jailbreak. And there was this Security Council meeting with the president. When he came out, he was asked, said, look, this is becoming a recurring activity, so incessant. Will you want to resign and quit? He said, what difference will it make? And that brings to mind what happened in Great Britain. You could see the way ministers were just going and leaving the prime minister just like that, because they felt they were no longer serving the people the way they ought to be.
So by that statement, what difference will it make whether he resigns or stay in office? Does it mean that it's now, he's not adding any value to the cabinet, to the operations of governance in that sense?
Well, you see, at that point, some people ought to have, I think the president ought to have taken a second look at such a statement, because we're talking of human lives, we're talking of property, we're talking of security of this country. And if you look at it, see how many people are being detained in the correctional centers or prisons. There are such a huge number to the extent that you also have the governors who indeed are refusing to sign death warrants. A judge has been found so person guilty and should die by hanging or something. But it now behoves on the governor. It's the duty of the governor. It's his duty, not that of the president, to now sign this death warrant. These governors have simply refused. And that's why we're having close to 40,000 inmates that have been, in fact, the judgment is just against them. They should be executed. Now, we're also having a situation where non-governmental organizations, human rights agencies are saying the death row, death sentences should be abolished in Nigeria. So the Minister of Interior is having it hot, whether we like it or not. And sometimes because of what people say, sanctity of life, will I just sign this and the person goes? But again, you juxtapose that with
but
the
what
people
about the crime that the
they
person
killed,
have committed?
you know? So if you juxtapose it, you see that the law is there to simply take care of the bad guys in society.
I mean,
we must not give them some soft landing in the name of trying to be politically correct. If I execute this or sign a death warrant,
isn't it why we have the symbol of justice, as something that you see virtually in every court? It's if you look very closely, it is blind. It cannot see. So it is regardless of whoever is involved and regardless of sentiments or emotions, once you are guilty of a crime, you should face the judgment, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But in our own case, that blindfolding of the symbol of justice so that it is served irrespective of who's, what is it now, who is God. I mean, in our own case, the governors have simply removed that veil to see, oh, this thing affects social society. If I sign this, I'm going to lose some credibility, I'm going to lose voters, I'm going to lose followers. And that is why many of them are refusing to sign this. If it were those days of the military, you see them just sign it. These are bad guys that should be, just a moment, Stella, that should be removed from society. The only person I saw once did that under a democratic dispensation was a Shumole in Edo State, because an armed robbers attacked a woman, not just attacking and dispossessing her of her belonging, they also hacked, dismembered her. It also tells you another level of criminality. So Oshimole felt he should sign it at that time, and he did it. People praise him for that. So I think that people who have killed should also be killed because the law says so. And in as much as we've not amended it, it should be done. It should be implemented.
While we are waiting for the implementation of that, these people are in custodial centers. They are supposed to be there. For no reason are they supposed to be let out, at least for now. Now, the Kuje prison issue, it has happened. I've not read anywhere that anybody has been sacked or any punishment has been meted out to anyone.
Sure, because just like we said, look at the outburst of the minister the other time. He said, if I resign, what difference will it make? So it's as usual, business as usual. I see that in Germany and also in China, a child went missing. See the deployment of Navy, police, Air Force, everyone involved looking for that child, only for him to be found in a tunnel. That is just one child. But with us, a community is attacked, and of course, all we get is condemnation. I think that we should go beyond that. And if government feels that time has come, just like the communities are feeling, some governors are feeling that we should begin to have community policing. We should have all of that, so that they assist some of these established agencies, the correctional services, civil defense corps, in terms of intelligence gathering and even intervention.
All right, so that we are back on track. We seem to kind of have deviated, but the pressure, I understand the pressure on the Minister of Interior and all of that, but is that why he seemed to be not involved with the party politics, as it were, right now?
Well, you see, being political or apolitical is a choice. there's nothing written somewhere that a former governor, a former commissioner, a former governor 2 times, and now a minister should always support so. I mean, it's not a thing that it is politically a crime.
Or could it be that his own candidate is not the person that...
Well, it could be, but I am telling you, they fell apart with the presidential candidate of the APC at the point you could see members of their camps having confrontation physically, and people were arrested. And again, we ask ourselves, where are the people, or the people who were that were arrested? Where are they? Are they in custody now? We don't know. So the attitude of the minister, of course, is making some people to have all sorts of comments that may not be too good as it is right now. But I think that a lot ought to be done to ensure that even the correctional services centers are given a facelift, are taken to standard, and even the inmates are also treated with some respect, so that those who are not too bad, by the time they come back, they are integrated correctly in society. If you check the number of Boko Haram guys under detention, honestly,
Shaman,
you begin to laugh.
Mr. Shaman,
yes,
I'm going to bring you back to the Ocean election. The minister had a candidate during the primaries. His candidate did not make it. So now his absence yesterday at the rally, a lot of people have said that it could be because his candidate did not make it. The minister is a former governor. He has his supporters. If he is seen not to be interested and his supporters, toe the same line, what do you think? Do you think that could affect the election coming up on Saturday, the APC?
Well, the truth of the matter is that he probably must have told his supporters, even if you don't see me, align with so party, but we've not seen that done in public. But you see, democracy is a game of number. If the Araboshola candidate, his followers, and that's the candidate's followers, and the minister's followers feel they should not participate in this election, that will not in any way annul the legitimacy of the election.
But could it affect their chances, though?
Well, it could, because, I mean, since the candidate didn't win, I mean, they feel there should be just this layback, this laissez-faire. It does not affect me, so to speak. But politically, people should just simply participate in elections. But when the minister is the one leading, as alleged or as seen by people, I think that a lot ought to be done correctly, because these are people the youth are looking forward to. These are people who indeed are standard bearers when it comes to society. And so the minister should, is it a thing of pride, or he felt injured, or, I mean, if someone at the point felt injured, and once in a while we see that some committees have been set up to reconcile aggrieved members, I think that should have been done. And one wonders why, as a former commissioner, as a under Asiwaju, then governor, and the Yorubas knowing for that kind of cohesion and respect for elders, I think that they ought to have sorted out this thing before now.
One thing is for sure there, that the APC has certain crisis that it's dealing with internally, even with all the pretense that we see. At the national level, a lot is really going on, going by the recent decision of the flag bearer to pick Kashim Shettima, former governor of Borno State, as his running mate. And we are seeing that one of the stories here on the front page of The Guardian is that more chieftains resign in protest over the APC's Muslim ticket. That is members of the APC and all of that. We saw another statement from, I think, something about Christian groups in the APC from the north yesterday, releasing a communique where they dismissed this and they disassociated themselves with the decision of the flag bearer. How will all of this play out, and how is this going to impact on the politics of the APC?
I think that APC ought to be very, very sensitive to the yearnings and aspirations of our Nigerians. And those who support it will always go back to history. You say Zik, when he was contesting, had a Christian candidate, Christian. Awolowo, when he was contesting at the point, had Christian. But you see, Shagari, in his own wisdom, decided that he should have Muslim Christian. And what was the result? They won the election. Now, if you look at even the military, like we've said in this program, Abdusalami Abubakar had Mike Ahigbe. Sani Abacha had Oladipo Donald Dia. You could see that. IBB also had Aikomo, you know, and it went on and on like that. But you could see that they were sensitive to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. But when it comes to APC, today that we are so polarized in terms of religion, today that hate messages are all over the place, today that we see some religious leaders preaching things that are not unifying, some politicians preaching what is not unifying.
Well,
I think that APC ought to have taken into cognizance some of these yearnings.
Okay,
and
what do you say to those who say that, well, one of the ways of, of dealing with the issues of the polarization that is in the country is to relegate this issue of, religion even in our politics, which is what informed the fielding of the former Borno State governor as the runmate of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, meaning to demonstrate that it really doesn't matter. It's about competence and all of that. So perhaps is that an approach, another approach to dealing with, not focusing on the issues of the religious difference?
Yeah, you see, because of the circumstance in which we found ourselves, Nigerians must always talk based on this kind of combination, Muslim or Christian. So if you are talking of competence, are we saying that a whole 19 northern states, that there is no competent Christian to pair up with Asiwaju Tinubu? When Buhari was 2015, contemplating who it was to be, we heard that Ahmed Bola Tinubu was insisting he should be paired with President Buhari. That time was a candidate. At the point, Buhari and co insisted, look, let us be sensitive to Nigerians. Let us have, I am a Muslim, as Buhari is. He said, let there be a Southern Christian. And that was how Osinbajo came in from nowhere to be vice president, and they won. If today they said, okay, let's call the bluff, I think it's really not the issue. So we should be cautious. We should be mindful. We should know that religion has become so sensitive to the extent that many people are insensitive to some yearnings of the people. And they might turn out to be too injurious to the system, to humanity, and to collective interest and peaceful living of Nigerians. So I think it's just not the best at all. But like I've seen some religious people also saying, look, especially the Christians, say it's yours to make. There are other parties too. You can choose to vote or stand to follow. So the choice is theirs. But you also see that in spite of the Muslim ticket, you find Christians saying, look, we're going to vote for that. And again, on the other side of the divide, you see that some Christians are saying, look, in as much as we have Christians, you see some Muslims saying, oh, we can also vote for that. So there is this side of divide or line of divide in
okay,
in
Mr. Shemang, I'd like to take you on this story on the front page of the Daily Trust. Salah Ansaru preaches rebellion against government in Kaduna. Not too long ago, during the small Salah, I don't know if you remember, Ansaru came out and celebrated with the people of those communities. He shared biscuits to the people. It performed stunts and to the admiration of the people. And during this Salah, At that time, experts warned that people should not take it on face value, that that was the way Boko Haram started. During the Salah, they went around preaching rebellion. As a matter of fact, this story says that they were telling the people to pick up arms and, go against the government of the state. What can you say to that?
Yes, to add to that, Stella, if any person is found with a poster of a politician, he's down for it, he's gone, he's a goner. Now, which also tells us something about what in military circle they say ungoverned spaces. Is it that there's no government presence there? Recalling that this is mostly around Bruningwari area. Recall that about 3 weeks ago, DPO was sent there on the very first day of his arrival, assuming duty. He was kidnapped as well. And this is the same Bruningwari area where indeed farmers pay some of these terrorists in order to go farm. It's really not the best. So we expect that security agencies should just go there. Not just a few, go there en masse, destabilize them. I mean, whatever force they must use. I mean, the military is not meant for the diplomacy. So they should do what they are supposed to do. And of course.
But why do you think nothing has been done? Because shortly after the report then, even the governor of the state came out to acknowledge the fact that some local governments were under the control of this group. So why is it that till date, nothing has been done? And it appears that these people are gaining more grounds.
Well, I wouldn't know whether something has been done or not been done, but the fact that they are coming out with this outburst and is now preaching openly, saying go for rebellion, it is a very serious thing that the security agencies should not just sweep under the carpet. And therefore, we expect that, look, I'll still call for this community policing. Apart from that, I saw that the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, is saying that they're going to use those he calls reservists or those who have just retired and are willing to join. I think that if the time has come, and I think it has come, they should be mobilized and deployed to fight this insurgency before they stabilize, before they increase in number, before they pollute or radicalize some of these innocent children who indeed, once as a child, soldier child, I mean, they don't always have this conscience of the elderly, okay. So they can kill without minding.
All right, so briefly before we go, the lead story on the Daily Trust newspaper, how Nigeria borrowed 225 trillion naira in 20 years. And, when you look at this number, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
First, I'm asking myself, at the point, this same period under review, then President Obasanjo ensured that all Nigerian debts were paid and we were debt-free. So how come in terms of borrowing, we are reaching this figure that is scaring? It's so scary. And of course, how won't we borrow when indeed we have a workforce that is so huge, we have to borrow to pay? How won't we borrow when indeed we have to remodel our airports here and there? How won't we borrow when we want to have a standard gauge kind of a railway system? How won't we borrow when indeed the roads are so bad? So too many things are there. But again, when we do borrow, what is the money being used for? And when you look at the borrowing, the federal government is borrowing, state governments are borrowing. Now, who indeed permits this kind of borrowing? And who monitors the use of this money? Or is it a debt or debts that have been left for generations yet unborn? Because we surely have to pay for this. And not just paying the amount on paper, we have to pay with interest. And when the time limit passes too, you pay higher. So it's a whole lot of things when indeed inflation is biting so hard. It's actually scaring. And we are talking of a situation where electricity is not in supply.
Some people have said that they have questioned the way the Senate approves some of the requests by the federal government to borrow. Some experts have said that the Senate does not go through the agreements and what these monies are meant for, and what it's going to cost Nigeria before they approve some of this?
Yeah, you see, the thing with state government loans is that once tabled at the Senate, if you have two senators and they disagree, of course, it will not be given. But we also have the Senate president who indeed said that as far as he was concerned, anything that the president brings, okay, it was going to work. And of course, the state governors, of course, because they belong to one party, I mean, you see that many of these things get to pass through easily. But we should look at the interest. And again, who oversights these debts and the project? If you collect, what is it meant for? What's the period of a project? So that you don't leave what you call uncompleted projects for an incoming regime. And watch one thing, Stella. Now that some governors have just some 10 months to go, they will do a lot of recruitment and will not pay salaries and sign out. And in doing that, another burden is already given to the incoming regime. The moment such an incoming regime begins to sag, they say, oh, he just came in and he has started retrenchment. So we should watch out. That also includes local government elections. You see that when tenures are almost ending, you now organize local government, all the while you've never organized elections. But the moment you want to go, you now say, elections for local governments are to be held, and once held, they are now 3 years.
Okay.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you so much. We have to end the session at this point. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
Thank you once again.
Our guest reviewer is Ben Shema, the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, and he joins us to give perspectives to the stories on the front pages of our newspapers. We'll now take a short breather, and then we'll be back shortly. And the show will continue. Please stay with us.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
That's great. All right, thank you for staying. If you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. It's top of the hour. Let's take a look at the headlines again. God won't make you laborers. Tinubu towns Peter Obi's supporters.
Police arrest 3 armed robbery suspects in Nasarawa.
Ahmed Musa to politicians. How do you feel visiting your children abroad while ASU is on strike?
Now the news in details. The Nasarawa State Police Command has said that they have arrested 3 armed robbery suspects who have been terrorizing and causing sleepless nights to the residents of Karu local government area of the state. The police public relations officer DSP Rahman Nansel told Daily Trust in Lafayette, the Nasarawa State capital, on Tuesday that the police operatives attached to the new Karu area command through actionable intelligence apprehended all the suspects. Those arrested, according to the PPROR, 33-year-old Musa Mohammed, 32-year-old Adams Lawal, and 32-year-old Mark Friday, respectively.
Now, in what could be a veiled reference to Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, and his supporters, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu lashed out at the opposition party on Tuesday. Obi's supporters, known as Obedients, comprise young persons who have been campaigning vigorously, particularly on social media. Speaking at the rally, Tinubu, who is presidential candidate of the APC, described opposition parties as mushroom parties. He told Oshun electorate to do what was done in Ekiti, where the APC's Abiodun Oyebanji won last month's election.
Now, Super Eagles star Ahmed Musa has tackled Nigerian politicians over the lingering strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Students of many government-owned universities have been away from the classrooms since February, when ASU commenced strike. All efforts to make the lecturers return to the classroom have not yielded meaningful results. Posting on his official Instagram account on Tuesday, Musa said it was a shame that political office holders flaunt the pictures of their children who school abroad, while those in Nigeria are at home.
Now, let's take a look at some packages. As Nigeria's population hits 216 million by November this year, experts have warned that the current population growth has consequences if not speedily addressed. Luka Musa reports.
Population is one of the human factors to be celebrated in the society. Any society that fails to grow in population is at risk of extinction. This gave rise to nations to track down their population growth to harness their social realities. But in most cases, with high population, there is expectation of great human capital, higher economic growth, and production capacity, among others. In Nigeria, census was conducted in 2006, marking Nigeria's population to 143 million. From 2006 to date, there is an increase with 73 million, marking Nigeria's population to be 216 million, making the country the 6th most populous country in the world. However, experts have warned that the current population growth has consequences if not speedily addressed. They said there is need for government and all stakeholders to take urgent measures to address the situation. Abuja residents expressed irritation with the government's inability to harness the population for national development.
It's supposed to be a blessing, but we failed to utilize the number. Because, for example, in China today, anything produced in China, if you own a company in China, first of all, you are sure of the markets in your country because the population is there. But in Nigeria here, where the government failed to educate the citizen, many of us are not employed. Many of us are not educated. So, in other words, the population has become a cause because if you check what is happening in the country today, the insecurity, the hunger, this is linked to the high population that government failed to plan for.
Nigerian population, instead of being a blessing, is a curse to Nigeria because the government have failed to prepare for the incoming population and hereby making the population to be a curse to Nigeria.
The number of people is always a blessing. Singleness does not fight a war, whether it is poverty or military or banditry or terrorism. I think it's good, it's population to invest. But then we must inject adequate, sufficient guideline to maintain life, housing, where to live, and then the job to do, yes, and then what to eat. This is something of life.
Musa Luka, Trust TV News.
Now on to election matters. The Independent National Electoral Commission on Tuesday said it has completed 12 out of 14 activities on the election timetable. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu disclosed this in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, at a stakeholders meeting attended by the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Eniton Ogunwusi, as well as governorship candidates and representatives of political parties in the state. Hamid Oyegbade now reports.
The Osun State governorship election will hold on Saturday, July 16th. It is the last major off-cycle election before the 2023 general election, which is just 227 days away. Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, says necessary arrangements have been put in place to ensure a successful poll in the state this weekend. The INEC chairman said the only two outstanding activities are the last day of campaign by political parties, which ends at midnight on Thursday, 14th of July 2022, and the election day activities on Saturday, 16th July 2022. While assuring residents that the election will be free and fair, he called on the people of the state to play their part to make the entire process successful.
And specifically in sections 121, 126, and 127, there are specific penalties dealing with bribery, conspiracy, dealing with electoral offences on election day, and dealing with undue influence. And each of these sections, 121, 126, 127, prescribe punishment ranging from fines to terms of imprisonment or both.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, said necessary arrangements have been put in place to ensure adequate security in the state throughout the election period.
I also wish to assure that the personnel of the Nigeria Police Force and indeed all other security agencies that have been mobilized to complement the police shall remain impartial, calm, and professional in the exercise of our statutory duties as provided for in the Electoral Act as amended and other enabling laws.
The Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Eniton Ogunwusi, warned politicians and their supporters against electoral violence to ensure a peaceful exercise.
You are not greater than a show. You are not greater than the state. The state is greater than you. Anything that is greater than you, there is a limit that you can do. Please, we are praying and begging not incite the youth of our very peaceful state. Do not use every means of desperation that you want to get there by all means. Let us leave everything to God Almighty. People know what is right. They have a sense of right and wrong in terms of what they want to do, in terms of who they want to support. Let us leave everything to the people. Let us leave everything to the electorate, and let us leave everything to God Almighty.
All right, now let's take a look at some more packages. Kaduna-based newspaper publisher Tukur Mamu says no money was paid through him as ransom to secure the release of the Abuja-Kaduna train passengers that were recently released, 7 of them. Now, the Kaduna-based publisher, who has been at the forefront of negotiations with the terrorists to secure the release of the victims, said 11 were earlier released through his efforts and that of security agencies. Take a look.
After the attack of the AK-9 Kaduna-Abuja train, many people were abducted by the terrorists, while some killed. The Kaduna-based publisher Tukrumamo, who has been in the forefront of the negotiation with the terrorists to secure the release of these victims, 11 were earlier released through his effort and the security agencies. Though Mamu announced his withdrawal from the negotiation, but he facilitated the release of the recent 7 victims. He says the media report that 700 million was paid as ransom to release the victims was unfounded.
The claim that the sum of 800 million naira was paid, I think it is unfounded as far as I'm concerned. I gave my own car that went to the forest. I was there even though I didn't enter that place. And the people that were rescued, they can bear testimony if there is money that was given or not.
When asked about the fate of the remaining victims who are still in the custody of the terrorists, he says nobody can determine when they will be released.
What I'm encouraging the government is that I have succeeded in opening a door that hitherto is not there. So they should explore this means as a responsible government and ensure the release of these innocent victims as soon as possible. It is something that I repeated that can be done within 1, 2, 3 days. It is something that can be done. That is why I even told them that if you people cannot do it, give me the mandate, give me the go-ahead, give me the support. I will take responsibility if I did not succeed. Give me whatever it takes. I can guarantee that all of them will be released. But in a situation whereby, honestly, the same lackluster attitude will continue, I can tell you that the fate, nobody can determine their fate or when they will be released. Not anytime soon, honestly.
While attributing his withdrawal from the negotiations to threat from some quarters, said that the 7 victims recently rescued from the hands of the terrorists confirmed that members of the terrorist group escaped after the Kuje prison attack arrived the forest before their release.
Some of them threatening you because to some extent what we are achieving is exposing the ineptitude of some of them. What we are achieving is exposing the incapacity of some of them. I'm the first person that alerted the nation after this jailbreak that the same people that attacked the train are the same people that went to Kuje and freed their people. They are the same people. And this has been confirmed by the 7 victims that we succeeded in rescuing. They said even before they left that place, virtually all of them that were released in Kuje are there in the bush. They have confirmed.
With the withdrawal of Mamu from the negotiation with terrorists, relatives of the abductees are now left searching options.
All right. Well, quite revealing there. We'll take a quick break now, and then when we come back, we'll continue with our discussions. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying. Now let's take a look at some more discussions on the program. As expected, the choice of Senator Kashim Shettima, former governor of Borno State, has continued to generate heated debate among Nigerians, with many saying Tinubu choosing a fellow Muslim was quite insensitive, and that it might prove to be a hard sell in the South. We have joining us virtually from Zoom, via Zoom rather, from Asaba, the convener of the National Political Equity Movement, Ambassador Chibuzo Okereke, to talk about this. Thank you for joining us, Chibuzo.
Good morning.
Well, welcome on the program. I'm sure you've been following the discussions since the moment the APC flag bearer Bola Tinubu announced his running mate to be Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That has put to rest all the initial speculations that we've heard about the Muslim ticket. It's now real. And several reactions have trailed that decision. Let's start with your own take on that decision.
I can tell you, Vivid, that His Excellency Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu a very poor decision in selecting his running mate. You have to know that considered, including me, as a religious war or prioritization of religion in the presidential political space. Let me say this. Every country in the world emerges within the realms of certain fundamental principles and objectives. And each nation and country has a history, its configuration. Nigeria is not an exception, no matter how we want to pretend about it. In Nigeria, we emerged from our settled kingdom, caliph, and all that. And then there are certain important ingredients for our social life. Faith is that one of the important pillars and configuration of the nation, and it has been essential. And one thing again that is important is that for every faith you profess, there are enough competent that can deliver on the mandate of any political responsibility. For instance, since Nigeria's independence, prior to 1960, one of the most fundamental questions in the national question discussion or discourse was about the minority interest. That was what led to the Willick report that eventually gave us the Midwestern region in 1960. And also faith, very critical in the organization of the Nigerian state. And leaders have carefully observed these fundamental principles in making sure there is equity and balance in the presentation of political. Now, making this decision is something that has truncated that national paradigm, that thing that is making us to talk about one Nigeria. That is what this decision has, foisted on the people of Nigeria.
All right. All right, Chibuzo, just hold your thoughts there. Sorry, we have to interject. Just hold your thoughts. We'll be back to you shortly. We'll take this short breather and try to get some things sorted. Please stay with us.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
All right, thank you for staying. You're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. We now have in the studio Mustafa Audu, who is leader of the Progressive Youth Movement, joining us here to talk about the reactions trailing the decision of the APC flag bearer, Bola Tinubu, to pick the former governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima, as his running mate. A lot of people have talked about the Muslim ticket, and some other people find it offensive. And so we are going to be, talking about this. Well, thank you so much, Mustafa, for joining us on Daybreak.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and happy Salah as well. To be honest,
yeah. So just before you go ahead,
okay.
You've seen the reactions that have trailed this decision. Were you expecting this kind of reactions?
To be honest, I think we're making it's politicians, a lot of politicians and people that are making a big deal out of this. Honestly, what Nigerians truly want is competent leadership. I don't think that people feel, if you go to any village, any local government, and you ask them what they want in their vice president or their president, the first thing they would say is either being a Muslim or a Christian. I think if you're talking about unity of the country, I think it's more south, north, east and west that unites us rather than religion, So I think that competence is what His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has gone for in Kashim Shettima. If you look at him, if you look at his antecedents, if you look at who has come after him, everything that he has done, if you look at Borno, in the midst of Boko Haram, terrorism, it's a well-developed place. It's unbelievable the kind of development that has gone on there. And when he was leaving, his replacement was Zulum. So you can see that his choices in leadership, what he has done right now amongst his businesses, he's a businessman, and this is what this country needs, people that think in terms of business. What he's doing, amongst other things, is solar energy, which you can see that the vice president...
All right. It's a good thing that you've mentioned competence, but that's also one of the issues that people have raised concerning this issue. They have said that if you're talking competence, all across Nigeria, you could find competent people.
Absolutely.
And they're also saying that if Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was looking for competence, it was possible he could get it in any other religion so that they could be balanced. That's what some people are saying.
I don't think that balance comes in terms of religion. That's what I'm telling you is misguidance. And I'll give you a practical example today. Would you say Christians are safe in terms of terrorism? When these terrorism bandits act, they come and say, oh, you're a Christian, I'm not going to do anything. That doesn't happen. And yet the vice president today is a pastor. Therefore, religion has no bearing on safety, competence, governance.
Okay,
so that's not what...
Okay, so now that you mentioned the vice president,
yes,
who is a pastor,
yes,
some pointed to the fact that the same scenario almost played out in 2015. And you had an Asiwaju who currently now is running, and the thoughts at that time was whether or not the president should pick Asiwaju as his running mate, and or not. And then there was a consideration that was made, which is the fact that the president, being a Muslim, shouldn't be having Asiwaju Bola Ahmed, being a Muslim, as running mate, in the sense that so that we don't have this Muslim ticket at that time. And that informed the choice of the APC leader to bring in the current vice president as Osibanjo. So if religion mattered at that time, why doesn't it matter now?
Religion never mattered then. It's politics. I'm a politician. This is my party.
But leaders of the party at that time, said that a Muslim ticket was not going to win at that time.
Let me say something. It was a way of disqualifying His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Fact. That's it. It was simply a way of how do we... He wants it. He's worked hard for it. He brought the components together to make APC work because we had tried alliances previously. The president had tried going on his own previously, but it was obvious that only an alliance would bring us together in order to topple the PDP. And when that alliance was formed, key amongst the people who made this alliance work was Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So obviously he wanted something in doing that. That's fact. Politics is about interest. His interest then was to run for president or vice president, but he had considered that, President Muhammadu Buhari had the numbers. Even on his own, he always had his 8, 9, 10 million votes. The fact. So in addition to the votes that he can bring on board, we would clinch it. So this was the consideration.
You would have clinched it in 2015?
We clinched, yes.
Wait.
We did win.
Wait. Somebody on the show yesterday said that the APC didn't do that at that time because they were not from the position of strength. They were the opposition at that time. They were not the ruling party. And that was why they could not go ahead because they knew that could cause problems. Is the APC doing this now because it's the ruling party? And it feels like it has the upper hand.
I'm telling you because I was privy to a lot of things that happened then. And I know that as a way, there's no point mentioning name, it's politics. As a way, some people didn't want him to emerge. And the only valid way of stopping him was to play the religious card. So then the
it's about what some people want.
So it's about interest. And I'm telling you this because if you go to the layman today and you ask them...
So let me put it this way. You said some people didn't want Asiwaju at the time to run.
Yes.
So the religious card was played,
absolutely.
Right? So it is about what some people want now. Not
so
really about
what is good. Yeah, exactly. So now some people, and I'll tell you this, right? Should APC have gone for a northern candidate, they'll say, oh, wait, let me finish.
Sorry,
they would say APC.
This is very important.
Yes, okay, go on.
It's Bola Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu competent at that time?
Yes, absolutely.
Was he competent in 2015?
Absolutely, very competent. And
so why didn't his competency considered at that time?
That's what I'm telling you, that the forces against him, just like we all know that the forces against him prior to the primaries were significant. At that point, they were...
Okay, the forces are not significant.
No, they were. Wait, let me finish. At that point, they were able to surmount him. At this point, he was able to surmount them. That's life. It's a seesaw. So at
so
some
there are
point,
forces at play now within the APC. Is that
always, there are always forces in every single party.
all right. So let's get in our other guest who is joining us via Zoom, Chibuzo. Well, I'm sure you are following all that our guest here in the studio is saying. Apparently, religion, it's no big deal. I mean, it doesn't matter. So, what's your take?
Here in, probably because of my location. But what I can tell you with respect to my brother there is that I can tell of departure is that he's speaking politics, speaking personal interest, and some kind of Machiavellian tactics of discussing nation building. We are discussing leadership. We are discussing governance. That is the point of departure. You lead a nation that is deeply divided, a nation that from foundation is configured and within this ethnicity there are highly competent people. He has argued, forcefully about the contributions of the presidential candidate of the AP. But I can tell you that there are Christians. For instance, he mentioned Dogara, former Speaker of the House of Representatives. He's a Christian from in the north. The serving secretary to the federal government, Boss Mustafa, made enormous contributions. A very pragmatic politician from the Abiola years. He is there. And so many other prominent northern Christians who knows no other who were born there. They didn't choose their fate. Came to them as a result of practice. So he cannot come and make that argument that is simply political. We must, at this time in our national life, think about nation. And that is what Chapter 2 of our Constitution is about. The fundamental principles and objectives of how governance and democracy should be made to happen in the country. And that is also the sense behind the issue of spread in the country. The people, how can these people make arguments forcefully that power should rotate to the south?
All right,
and
now.
then on one hand, used to be in another line of thought on how. Why did you argue?
All right, so but
to come to the south.
But
for us to have equity and balance. You cannot have. You see, I need to make this point. In leadership, don't communicate to your followers or citizens a psychology of dominance, a psychology of position, and that is what is going on. And you cannot lead when the majority of the country citizenship is having a sense of exclusion and a sense of dominance and subjugation.
Okay,
How do you want to lead a country like that? And that is the contention. So we are arguing for leadership, nation building, and governance, and arguing for politics. And we must end personal the country. And that is the key issue. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me come back to the studio. Mustafa, I understand you're itching to respond to that. Are you concerned about the implication of this on governance? Eventually, if the APC, or I would say the Muslim ticket, is to fly, are you concerned about how this could affect the issue of trust deficits that Nigeria has been dealing with, the issues of national unity and cohesion, and how it affects governance and all of that?
Yeah, absolutely not. I honestly think what is fundamental to Nigerians is that sense of ethnicity rather than a sense of religion. So we believe that power shift, north-south, is more prominent because it carries the nation along than religion. Religion is a personal thing between you and God. But ethnicity in this country is not a personal thing. You know, usually they ask where you're from. Nobody asks what is your religion.
What would you say to those who said that? What would you say to those who said that there's a lot of suspicion right now, especially if you look at the insurgency that Nigeria has been dealing with in the past 10 years, the insecurity in the country, and the agenda of the terrorists, you know, and all of that. And if you put all of that together, you know, a lot of mistrust, a lot of suspicion. And so because of that, that could affect even in the way, you know, the people are going to respond to government and everything.
I think this terrorism is an issue that affects us all. I don't think anyone is safe. They don't treat the Muslims any different from the way they treat the Christians. They kidnap everyone the same. They torture and torment people the same. You know, I think it's a collective issue that affects us all. And what we need is real competent leadership with empathy that understands the problem, that can tackle it. I honestly don't believe it's a religious issue, because if it was a religious issue, we have, I think in the Christian faith, being a pastor is up there. So we have a pastor as a vice president, yet these issues are persistent. Therefore, religion is not the issue. So anyone pushing...
There are those who could argue that perhaps if you didn't have a vice president who is a Christian, perhaps maybe the situation could have been worse. There are those who would say that.
The situation, anybody spelling doom and gloom, people can always say, they've been saying Nigeria will fall apart for a very long time. The only country I know, the only country three of us know is Nigeria. We were not born into any other country. So it's usually the older ones that, you know, maybe knew another country or knew before Nigeria's proclamation in 1960 that keep being skeptical. But for us who have this country, we know we're only going to build it further.
All right, Mustafa, I want to know, at what point did the APC decide to go for this Muslim ticket? And before that, I asked this question because some people of the APC have said that the reason that they are going this way is to show to Nigerians that, look, Nigerians should move away from ethnicity, move away from religion, and focus on other things that, you know, that will lead to development and all of that, which is a good thing. But if the APC wanted that as a ruling party, don't you think that the campaign should have started long before now, so that the division would have, the lines of division would have been blurred before now?
Again, these lines of division that we see are usually personal interest that is causing this division. As an individual, as a human being, I think we have priorities, a good life, you know, making good income, having a good family, having a good home. These are things that are priority to human beings. But, you know, when things are not going right, someone comes and says, oh, it's person X or person Y. And that is what is causing the issue right now. You know?
Don't also forget, the people that are angry are not just politicians. Some of the people that have kicked against it are just the ordinary people on the street.
That's what I'm telling you, that when people are hungry and, you know, they don't have a lot to do, it's easy for them to pick up anybody's agenda and run with it. But APC never sat down one day and thought, what do we do? Muslim ticket. That's the way forward. Never. It's never been consideration. Prior to the convention, first it was getting the convention going. You know, everybody said there would be no convention, APC would fall apart. But we had a fantastic convention. Then it came to primaries. They said, oh, you know, we intend to keep the power in the north, so APC is going to collapse, you know. Then we had a fantastic primaries, which everyone even believes that it's the freest and fairest primaries amongst all the parties. Everything was aired nationally, and people were allowed to express themselves. And the delegates went and they voted for who they wanted. Now we have a presidential candidate. That presidential candidate, to a certain extent, has the right to pick who he wants, based on certain dynamics.
In picking who he wants, you know, we've had how that the choice of the running mate is because, of course, the APC is looking at the northern votes, particularly the Muslim northern votes, which is why some of them have said, or I'll say some of your party members have said, well, if you are to pick a Christian northerner, it may not have electoral value because you've argued that politics is a game of numbers, and so you are looking at how someone who can actually pull in the votes for you, and which is why you picked Kashim Shettima as your running mate. Now, in doing so, has the APC demonstrated politics of unity, politics that seems to emphasize other inclusivity other than religion?
I understand what you're saying clearly, but what I'm trying to tell you,
because clearly there's a responsibility here.
Yes, absolutely.
For the APC as a leading party to demonstrate leadership by unifying Nigerians. But it doesn't seem like that's the case.
No, what I'm telling you is that it's politicians pulling this. Why, when they're saying power shift, why is no one talking about the PDP fronting a northern candidate? Why is no one talking about that?
People talked about PDP, but let's talk about APC for now.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, that it's just politicians pushing this narrative.
Which politicians you're talking about? Are they politicians of the APC?
There are some in the APC, there are some in the PDP for various interests.
Because
let me tell you why. Okay. Because if I'm a northern politician and I'm a Christian and I want sentiments to come to me in the party, I start flaming the fire of shouldn't the people in the north, shouldn't the Christians be carried along? That's one option. People in the PDP, knowing that they don't intend power to shift to the south, will keep pushing the narrative of, Christian, they're not picking a Christian.
So do you then admit that politicians are the architects of this whole thing about religious and ethnic politics?
Absolutely. If you look at
in the decisions of your flag bearer, can we really absolve him of the same thing? We have heard his speeches in Abeokuta where he said, well, it's the turn of the Yorubas. The focus for him was not about what Nigeria is dealing with. It is about the turn of the Yorubas. And that was what brought the slogan, Emilokan, right? Now, we've had that in the southwestern part of the country. Moving down to the north, where the decision about the running mate is to be made, we heard that, we need a Muslim from the north so that we can pool the numbers and all of that. Looking at these scenarios, have your flag bearer demonstrated leadership in terms of unifying the people?
But that's what I'm trying to tell you, is that everybody is trying to push their own agenda. It's about agenda. So if you say the flag bearer is pushing a Muslim candidate, the flag bearer is not pushing a Muslim candidate. The flag bearer has looked at the dynamics and looked at who best can I work with?
What is he pushing if he's not pushing
hold on, let me finish.
I mean, his running mate is a Muslim.
But that's why we are having this conversation. That is not the consideration. The consideration here is first.
The consideration is who can give me the numbers.
Wait, let me finish.
No, the consideration, your party members have said that the consideration is who can pull in the numbers for us. It's a game of numbers.
If you allow me to learn,
if you pick a Christian northerner, will not give you that numbers.
That is you saying. No, that is you saying that.
No, I'm not the one saying.
So allow me to tell you, my party is telling you, or telling the whole Nigeria, that first of all, it has to do with certain criteria. Who first can the president work with as a person? Competence is high up there. Numbers is also high up there. Carrying people along is also high up there. But if you look at the president, many people have already noticed and said, his wife is a reverend. He selected Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, who is a pastor. Therefore, religion has no bearing on the president.
Okay, hold on.
On our incoming president,
Mustafa,
God willing.
Our guest up there, Chibuzo, Mustafa says religion has no bearing here, that in fact it's not Nigerians that are complaining, that it's the politicians because of their interests that are causing all of this. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me say that my friend Mustafa, I'm actually happy with the questions you guys are cleverly able to provide answers to. Yes, politicians are using religion and ethnicity as a rallying point for politics is the result of the configuration of the country. We have to know this and not away from it. This country is configured that way. And Nigeria, there is high level of nepotism, and a lot of other manifestations pan to ethnicity, religion. This is the reason our founder, made it compulsory for national life to reflect and balance that supports you. If you come today, religion is the faith of the people and is an integral aspect of our spiritual and social life. Human beings derive spiritual fulfillment from their religion.
Oh, it appears we're having problems with Chibuzo. Back to Mustafa in the studio. Mustafa, apart from Nigerians just talking.
Today, you will discover that Muslims have prayer points. Even the conveniences, their spiritual cleansing items are provided. Why would you bother do that in a public? Where we should focus on building. You have organizing fellowships and prayer in most assembly, in Asrock Villa, in the Supreme Court, virtually everywhere. Private sector, Transcorp, Hilton Hotel, many other private business recognize the importance of spirituality and make special provisions for the spiritual opportunity of these people. Nobody on national television and argue that the religion and of people has no bearing to what they do. How come you are using Quran to Muslim? Use the Bible for Christian. Can we sincere for once?
All right.
And not rally? So
Yeah.
the point is
That's
that APC
Chibuzo there. Well, let's get back to the conversation here in the studio. Chibuzo, are you concerned that this could have some consequences for your party, especially if you look at some members of your party are resigning, some are aggrieved, even some that have remained in the party are showing symptoms of reluctance in terms of going to campaign for the party and all of that.
Especially before he answers, before now, we had about 22 senators threatening to leave the party because of what happened during the primaries, which they claim the alleged imposition and all of that. So the APC was dealing with that, and then this has led to some resignation of some members. So
there's no party that doesn't have one or two issues, but what is pertinent is how you resolve your issues. I think these senators you mentioned went to see Mr. President, led by His Excellency Distinguished Senator Jules Okalu, and they met the President, and it's been resolved.
It wasn't resolved. They said that they were going to give the party time to see what the party would do.
So solutions are being provided, options are being provided. So like I said, it's being resolved. If not, you would have heard that they've defected. So the issue here that we're saying is that those people leaving the party are leaving for their own political reasons. Do you understand? So they are not leaving because...
No, they are leaving because of the decision of the flag bearer.
No, I'm telling you no. They are looking
at...
They may
the
state
reason that some of them have given.
They may state that as their reasons, but they are not leaving because of that.
Are you sure?
I'm 1,000% sure. Because I will tell you why. I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why.
Let me give you two names. And they clearly spelled it. One of them is one of the legal advisors to your party, Daniel Bola. And he categorically said that because of his beliefs and his convictions, he cannot sell the ticket of a Muslim. He cannot talk to people about it. He cannot sell that ticket. That's one of the persons. He categorically mentioned it. The other one, Senator Ishaku Abo from Adamawa State, also said that he cannot sell this to his people. So, in fact, he has been a member of the Tinubu's. These two persons that I'm talking about were people who have advocated for the emergence of Tinubu as the flag bearer of the APC. and they are saying that they cannot sell this ticket and that they are laying back. None of them have resigned. Now, these are just the two that we know. There are a number of others that we have not heard about.
Let me tell you, the first one you mentioned, I don't know, this is the first time, but the second one, I'll tell you, it's simple. The flag bearer of the PDP is from Adamawa State. And in Adamawa, the way some people have calculated it is that Adamawa will vote for their own. Therefore, if you're not supporting their own son, you most likely not get into office. So we've seen a situation where some flag bearers of the APC...
Senator Ishaku Abo was in the PDP and moved into the APC.
Yes, and has
so
seen that.
It's not, and he is fully aware that the PDP candidate Atiku Abubakar is going to run for the presidency.
And I'm telling you, he has made his calculations and seen that being in APC doesn't work for him right now. So he has looked for the best excuse that he can present and hopped so that he doesn't offend anyone. Trust me, it's politics.
Mustafa,
yes, please.
Doesn't it bother you that at a time like this, when the party is supposed to be selling its agenda to the people and telling us what it is that they have to offer, they are busy defending a decision they have made?
It's nothing like that. I'll tell you, in politics, every day something new comes up. Some you ignore, some you have to answer, some you make adjustments. That is politics. So there are many things that are coming up in every single party's agenda and what they are doing pre-election. Enemies are there, enemies from within, enemies from without. So you have to look at it. That's how it is.
So if
it's politics, it's politics. So if somebody
I like the way you say it's enemies.
Absolutely. If somebody doesn't like you, they're going to look for what they can say about you that other people
because
can
you have
connect.
made a decision, or maybe because you have presented a platform
that they are not happy with. That's all it is. But I would tell you, there is no Nigerian today that you go to any village, your village, or my village, that I go and I tell them, what are the three things you want in your president and your vice president? There's no Nigerian, nowhere in this country that they would say, I want him to be Muslim or I want him to be Christian. They'll never say that.
I guess we'll find out.
But mob mentality, when people now say, oh, but he's not a Muslim, or oh, he's not a Christian, then people can start saying, oh, because you now feel like, oh, well, he's not a Christian, I'm a Christian, so I can't relate. Or he's a Muslim, I'm a Christian.
Mustafa, these are interesting times for your party.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to seeing how they are going to deal with this. Eventually, Nigerians are going to go to the polls in 2023.
And we'll win, God willing, inshallah.
We will see the outcome.
And we'll provide better governance. And the reason, and we have to be honest, the reason all these things are issues is because we haven't done our best. We should have been better than this, but we will be better, God willing.
Before we go, I'd like you to answer. Yes. You said Ishaku Sabo is taking his decision because his state is, he has a flag bearer in his state and all that. What would you then say to a group of APC members, Christian APC members from the north, who have released a statement 2 days ago saying that they are not going to sell this ticket to their people?
Who is behind the group is the question. So there is a Christian northern, most likely APC aspirant or candidate or somewhere that feels that, oh, it should have been me.
And all of that should concern you? I mean, no, you mean that all of this doesn't bother you?
It is. But what I'm saying is that by focusing on what unites us rather than divides us, that is how we provide better governance. To some degree, you have to ignore some. To some degree, you must answer some. And to some degree, you must appease.
Okay, all right. I think we should go to Chibuzo.
Let's get final thoughts from Chibuzo. Just a minute. Yes, you can go ahead.
I say that APC has chosen to take us back into the and ignored the very important nation building and promoting Nigeria as a one indivisible country as envisaged in our constitution. That indivisibility of our nation is anchored on oneness, is anchored on inclusion, on equity and justice. And what
Well, it appears that we have network issues, but
APC ticket to unite with political parties who have shown sensitivity to the configuration of our country.
all right. Thank you, Chibuzo. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak and sharing your perspectives with us. Sorry, because of time, we have to go. Chibuzo is the convener of the National Political Equity Movement, and he joins us virtually from Asaba. And then we've had in the studio as well Mustafa Audu, leader of the Progressive Youth Movement, talking to us about the decision of his party. Well, with that, we've come to the end of the program for today. Nigerians have a choice to make by 2023, and we urge all of you to get your PVCs and get prepared ahead of the 2023 general elections. My name is Ayuba Ilya.
Thank you for spending this part of your morning with us. My name is Stella Yaji. Do well to join us same time, same station tomorrow. Bye for now.